Okay guys, so the next video that I assigned you was for today for social studies. So this is just looking at timelines. It's a quick thing on what are timelines. All right, so I shared this PowerPoint with you yesterday, but it was not due to look at until today. So what are timelines? Let's go into the first part. What are timelines? Why do we make them? So timelines help us, and especially for historians, they help us understand history. They also tell us what happened, when, and how much time went by between events. More importantly, they show events in order. So the timeline I'm asking you to do for your project is not necessarily because I just want to give you a whole bunch of work. I want you to see what happened with your event, your topic, or your person, and be able to order those things so that you can get a little bit more specific as to what happened to during that time period. Okay, so how does a timeline work? Let's try, for instance, this little girl. This little girl's name is Maria. And of course, Maria has parents, and they want to keep track of important things in her life. So instead of a baby book, what they chose to do was a timeline. So she was born in 1993. The first time she walked was 1995 when she was 2. The following year, she had her first words. And then in 1998, she had her 5th birthday. And her parents want to keep track of all these things by putting them in a timeline, which is a fancy way of saying that putting them in order. Fortunately for us, these are already put in order. Sometimes you get events, even on your project, you'll find dates and you'll be writing your notes and they might be out of order. Okay, so we're going to practice something that is in order first. So if you look at this, this is the events that we have, and I'm going to put them in order. So I went ahead and I made what the timeline would look like. To give you more of an understanding, this is what a timeline should look like. So you have events in order, okay, and you're reading the timeline from left to right. Okay, so if you notice, she was born in 1993, right? That's the first event that ever happened in her life. And as we progress, she had her first steps. She had her first words in 1996. And then in 1998, it was her 5th birthday. So they go in order based on year, date. Sometimes it's even as specific as time. It just depends. Like a lot of times in science, it's by time. Okay, so always remember that we read it from left to right. Kind of like reading a book, right? Except you're reading events in order. Another way that timelines are done, but we're not doing them here, just as an example and a heads up, sometimes they're done from bottom to top with the event that is the first thing that happens starting at the bottom, and it goes all the way to the top to the one that's the last thing that happened. Okay, why is this useful? So what's the reason we're doing this? Because you guys always ask that question, right? So putting events on a timeline like this gives you a sense of how much time goes by in between each event. So not necessarily we're looking at just the ordering of events. We're also looking at how much time is taking place in between events, right? So like in science, biggest thing I can give you an example of right now, right, is the virus we're facing. So the virus has timestamps, right? Maybe today 10 people have it, and maybe by tomorrow at noon, 15 people have it. Okay, so it will show you guys the amount of time that it's taken from one set to the next for things to happen. Okay, it also helps you remember when those important things happen. Also, years from now, when Maria has her own children, she might be able to look back. Once again, I can go back to the virus. Same thing with the virus. Maybe years from now, we want to look back at this and say, wow, why did this happen so rapidly? What could we do to make it better next time? Okay, so same thing with Maria. Maybe she wants to look back and be like, wow, like maybe her child is learning how to walk when she's 1, or he or she is 1. She can compare it to hers and be like, wow, this kid is super smart, right? Okay, next part. Historians use timelines. So not only do we use timelines, historians use it, people that are in chemistry use it, everybody that is in any type of business has used a timeline at one point or another. So historians specifically use timelines to track things like the growth of a civilization, which is a fancy name for a group of people. Okay. The progress of a war. So anybody who's into war, I think Brandon, you're into war. So looking at the different time periods that certain things happened within a war, the development of new technology. So like take the invention of the TV, right? When I was little, and I'm sure when your parents were little, we had a button that you had to pull, and it would turn the TV on. Okay, now you can actually even just talk to your smart TVs at some point and ask them to turn the TV on themselves. But we had to actually get out of our sofa and go get that little knob and pull it out in order for the TV to start working. Okay, so advancements in technology. You can also keep track of important dates in history, like when famous explorers set off on their famous voyages. So you will be the historian for your expert project, and you will be doing your own timeline. I gave you a sample timeline on the next page, and I'd like for you to try. It's just a mini assignment. It'll take you maybe a minute, okay? Maybe 5. You're gonna try this one. So in response to this assignment, you need to, on a separate sheet of paper, make a timeline that puts the events, these 4 events, in order on a timeline. Just like Maria's timeline right here on slide 4. You're going to do your own using the years that I gave you and the information. Remember, you always have to have the year or the date, time, etc. that it took place, and then you have to have the information on what took place at that time. Okay? So make sure that you make your own timeline. You're just making a straight line timeline. It's due by Friday morning, okay? And that's when I'm posting the answer. All right? So if you have any questions, just let me know. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea. It's a mini assignment, so don't stress out on this. Write in print. Don't write in cursive. And get it done. Just make it a very quick assignment for yourself so that I know that you understand what a timeline is. Okay? And then good luck on researching on your own timeline. If you guys have questions, remember, you feel free to email either myself or Miss Buey. Okay, bye-bye.